John Dramani Mahama will be sworn in for his second term as Ghana's president on Tuesday with a fresh mandate to tackle familiar challenges, including corruption, high unemployment, inflation, and public discontent. The opposition leader, who is 66, won the December 7 presidential election by a wide-range margin to stage a political comeback in the West African nation, the world's #2 cocoa producer. He replaces Nana Akufo-Addo, who steps down after serving 2 terms, continuing Ghana's democratic tradition in a region gripped elsewhere by military coups and jihadist insurgencies. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, a cost of living crisis and an ongoing bailout from the International Monetary Fund and a sovereign debt default, Ghana's economy is again growing. But Mahama will be under pressure to deliver quickly on campaign promises to curb high youth unemployment and root out entrenched corruption, issues that have fueled distrust in Ghana's political system. The average Ghanaian is growing impatient with our democracy, Godfred Bobkin, a finance professor at the University of Ghana, told reporters. Also citing an entry in the morgue logbook. But Obienge, who was shot in the neck, according to the government's own autopsy reports conducted after his father visually identified his body. Obienge, who was also a protester, died the same day as Owino in the same Nairobi suburb of Kitengela, according to the report seen by reporters. In Kenya, morgue logbooks record the cause of death reported by police when they bring in bodies, with public pathologists usually only performing autopsies once bodies are identified by relatives. ATN spoke to 3 police officers who work in a unit deployed during protests, who said that Kenyan police at times mischaracterize deaths caused by officers as deaths by accident, mob justice, or drownings in morgue logs to cover their tracks. The officers requested anonymity to speak about sensitive matters. For this story, identified Owino, Obienge, and 2 other young men killed in or after the anti-government protests that rocked the country in June and July. Relatives described discrepancies between the causes of death recorded by the police in morgue logbooks and the autopsy reports in 3 of the cases. All the bodies were tagged with a number that was also entered into the logbook by morgue workers. Although Obienge and Owino were logged without a name when they were admitted to the morgue, their relatives matched the number on the body with the logbook entry and could see the causes of death declared by police. Mozambique's opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane, who has been calling for protest for weeks from exile, has said he will return to the country on Thursday. Mondlane said he would arrive ahead of the swearing-in of a new president next week. Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo party is due to be sworn next week Wednesday after a court confirmed his election victory. But Mondlane, the runner-up, rejected the outcome, sparking violent protests that have left dozens dead since October. Mondlane left Mozambique the same month, saying that he feared for his life after 2 of his aides were shot dead. In a Facebook Live address on Sunday, he sent out a defiant message to the authorities saying he will be in Maputo. They don't need to chase me anymore. He said he would arrive at 8:05 local time on Thursday at the international airport in Maputo, calling for people to come welcome him there. If they are killing my brothers, then I will be there. You can do what you want. If you want to murder, murder. If you want to arrest, arrest too. I'll be there, he said. Mondlane maintains that he won the election and has called for more protest until there is electoral truth. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Monday said he would step down in the coming months after 9 years in power, bowing to pressure from lawmakers alarmed by his Liberal Party's miserable showing in pre-election polls. A subdued Trudeau, amongst the most prominent progressive leaders in the world, told a press conference that he would stay on both as Prime Minister and Liberal leader until the party chooses a new chief within months. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best. I cannot be the best option in that election, Trudeau said. He also announced parliaments would be prorogued or suspended until March 24. That means an election is unlikely before May at the earliest, so Trudeau will remain in charge, at least initially, of dealing with the threat of crippling tariffs once U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office on January 20th. The next election must be held by October 20th, and polls show voters angry over high prices and a shortage of affordable housing will elect the opposition Conservatives and land the Liberals a resounding defeat, no matter who leads the party. In recent weeks, unhappy Liberal lawmakers openly called on Trudeau to quit after his finance minister resigned and accused him of political gimmicks to win back voters. Venezuelan opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez, who says he won a July presidential election and is recognized by multiple countries as president-elect, said on Monday that he had a fruitful meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden and spoke at length with President-elect Donald Trump's security advisor. The people of Venezuela deserve a peaceful transfer of power to the true winner of the presidential election, Biden said on X, saying Gonzalez should be taken the oath of office in 4 days, when incumbent President Nicolas Maduro is set to officially begin his third term in office. Gonzalez's visit to Washington comes as a part of regional tour just days before Maduro recognized by Venezuela's top court and electoral authority as the winner of the election is set to be inaugurated on January 10th. We had a long, fruitful and cordial conversation with President Biden and his team, Gonzalez told journalists after meeting with Biden at the White House. The Venezuelan government said it was grotesque that Biden was backing a violent project to usurp the country's democracy. The opposition has published detailed vote tallies, and it says show a resounding win for Gonzalez, and international observers have said the vote was unfair. The government has not published detailed vote tallies. Later in the afternoon, Gonzalez said on X that he had a long meeting with Mike Waltz, Trump's national security advisor. Among various issues that we talked about in detail was the civic protest of Venezuelans this January 9. Gonzalez added that he guaranteed that the United States and the world will be alert about what happens in our country. Maduro's government has said Gonzalez, who has been living in exile in Spain, will be sought if the opposition leader enters Venezuela. Security guard at the Honduran consulate near Atlanta was shot dead on Monday by an armed man who refused to hand over his weapon before entering the building and instead fired on the security guard. The Honduran foreign minister said this. Officials in the Atlanta suburb of Doraville said that the suspect was in custody and another person was wounded. Honduran Foreign Minister Eduardo Enrique Reina told a press conference in Tegucigalpa the suspect was a Honduran national and a private security guard of Mexican origin. The individual had a weapon and unfortunately pulled out his weapon, mortally wounding the security guard with 5 shots, Reina said. The security guard managed to close the door, preventing the armed man from entering and possibly sparing more victims, the foreign minister said. A Honduran witness waiting to enter the consulate noted the fleeing suspect's license plate number and reported it to the police. The suspect was undergoing questioning at the Doraville Police Department, and the wounded person was being treated at the hospital city of Doraville, spokesperson Emily Hinan said. U.S. Congress formally certified Republican President-elect Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, who lost the November contest. The quadrennial ritual clearing the way for Trump's inauguration in 2 weeks went like clockwork. Contrast to 4 years ago's 2020 loss to Democratic President Joe Biden. He claimed that his 2020 defeat was the result of widespread fraud and had warned throughout his 2024 campaign that he harbored similar concerns until his role of the state and the vice president's ceremonial role as president of the Senate. Known for her broad smiles and upbeat demeanor in public appearances, she stood stoic. In 2001, then Vice President Al Gore had the same distinction following a bitter battle between him and George Bush that ended so close that the U.S. Supreme Court of the members said he was choosing Joseph Nocella Jr. as his pick to become U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. George Nocella has a strong record of bringing law and order to the incredible people of New York, serving as a Nassau County District Court Judge and Family Court Judge. Also, Trump wrote in a post on Truth Social. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration will divert $95 billion in military aid allocated for Egypt to Lebanon, which faces threats from Hezbollah and other non-state actors, and is enforcing a ceasefire with Israel, according to a document seen by reporters on Monday. The State Department notification to Congress of the planned shift calls the Lebanese forces a key partner in upholding the November 27, 2024 Israel-Lebanon agreement to cease hostilities and to prevent Hezbollah from threatening Israel. The move comes after some of Biden's fellow Democrats in Congress expressed deep concerns about Egypt's Egyptian embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to requests for comment. In September, states said that Biden administration was overriding human rights conditions on military aid to Egypt. granting Cairo its full allocation of $1.3 billion, including $95 million tied specifically to Egypt's progress on the release of political prisoners. The notification did not spell out that the $95 million was those funds specifically, but a congressional aide said he did not believe the amount was a coincidence. It has been a vital partner in Biden's administration's effort to get more aid into Gaza and has helped mediate the so far unsuccessful efforts to secure a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The September decision on the money for Egypt prompted objections from within Congress, including from Democratic senators of the Foreign Relations Committee, who released a joint statement decrying the decision. According to the State Department documents, the funds would be made to combat terrorism and address security requirements in power in Syria. The United States remains Lebanon's security partner of choice, the notification said. Renowned Nigerian gospel artist and pastor Nathaniel Bassey has been invited to minister at the U.S. presidential inaugural prayer breakfast on January 20th, 2025 in Washington, D.C. The event, a non-political, faith-based gathering hosted by Reverend Mary Turner, will precede the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Set to take place in the Waldorf Astoria Presidential Ballroom, the breakfast will feature notable speakers including Dr. Alveda King and Pastor Mario Bramick. In 2024, the mayor of Albany, New York, honored Bassey's ministry by declaring October 6 as Pastor Nathaniel Bassey Day, acknowledging his global impact through music and faith. The prayer breakfast underscores the importance of spiritual guidance and intercession in shaping U.S. leadership, making Bassey's inclusion a nod to his influential role in fostering global worship. Creating and sharing sexually explicit deepfakes will become a criminal offense in Britain, the government said on Tuesday, in a bid to tackle a surge in the proliferation of such images, mainly targeting women and girls. Deepfakes are videos, pictures into the likeness of someone else. Publishing intimate photos or videos without consent and with the intent to cause distress, so-called revenge porn, was criminalized in Britain in 2015, but that legislation does not cover the use of fake images. Data from UK-based revenge porn helpline showed the image of the government. Perpetrators could be charged and face prosecution for both creating and sharing these images. There is no excuse for creating a sexually explicit deepfake of someone without their consent. The Justice Ministry said this in a statement. The previous Conservative government, which lost power to the Labour Party in July, announced similar plans to make sexually explicit deepfakes a criminal offence. Under its proposal, offenders would face fines and even jail time. The Justice Ministry said further details of the new offence would be set out in due course. The government said it would also new offences for the taking of intimate images without consent and the installation of equipment with intent to commit these offences. Those found guilty could face up to 2 years behind bars. The new offences will be included in the government's crime and policing bill, which will be introduced to the Parliament. A date is reported on Monday, citing a statement from the country's health ministry. The patient had not traveled to Central Africa, where the new form of the virus originated, but was in contact with 2 people who had returned from that region. Health authorities are investigating the source of the infection and are working to trace all potential contacts. According to AFP, the patient is a woman and was diagnosed in the northwestern region of Brittany at a hospital in paper Outfits France reported. The new form of the mpox, called Clade 1B variant, is linked to a global health emergency declared by the World Health Organization in August. Neighboring Germany reported its first case in October, as did Britain. Situation of 3 French citizens held in Iran is worsening, with some being detained in conditions similar to torture, France's foreign minister said on Tuesday, adding that future ties and sanctions lifting will depend on their fate. The situation of our compatriots held hostage in Iran is simply unacceptable. They have been unjustly detained for several years in undignified conditions that, for some, fall within the definition of torture under international law. Jean-Noel Barrot told a conference of French ambassadors, "I say to the Iranian authorities, our hostages must be released. Our bilateral relations and the future of sanctions depend on it." We'll take a short break, and when we return, we continue with the rest of the stories. Please stay with us.
From lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountain. Through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories, in politics, business, socio-economic,
Magnitude 6.8 earthquake rocked the northern foothills of the Himalayas near one of Tibet's holiest cities on Tuesday, Chinese authorities said, killing at least 53 people and shaking buildings in neighboring Nepal. The quake hit at 9:05 a.m. with its epicenter located in Tingri, a rural Chinese country known as the Northern Gateway to the Everest region at a depth of 10 kilometers, according to China Earthquake. The U.S. Geological Service put the quake's magnitude at 7.1, and at least 53 people had been killed and 62 injured on the Tibetan side, China's state-run news agency Xinhua reported. Southwestern parts of China, Nepal, and northern India are frequently hit by earthquakes caused by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates. A magnitude 7.8 tremor struck near Kathmandu in 2015, killing about 9,000 people and injuring thousands in Nepal's worst ever. Among the dead were at least 18 people killed at the Mount Everest base camp when it was smashed by an avalanche. Nepal's National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority said that the tremors were felt in 7 hill districts bordering Tibet, and so far we have not received any information of any loss of life and property. NDRRMA spokesman Dizan Baltar told reporters, "We have mobilized police, security forces and local authorities to collect information," he said. Many villages in the Nepalese border area, which are sparsely populated, are remote and can only be reached by foot. The impact of the quake was felt across the Shigat region of Tibet, home to 800,000 people. The region is administered by Shigat city, the traditional seat of the Panchen Lama, one of the most important figures in Tibetan Buddhism. I beg your pardon. Chinese President Xi Jinping said all-out search and rescue efforts should be carried out to minimize casualties, properly resettle the affected people, and ensure a safe and warm winter. South Korea's transport minister said on Tuesday that he intends to step down to take responsibility for the deadly crash of a Boeing jet operated by Jeju Air on December 29th. Jeju Air 762216, which departed the Thai capital of Bangkok for Muan in southwestern South Korea, barely landed and overshot the regional airport's runway, exploding into flames after hitting an embankment. "I feel heavy responsibility for this disaster," Park Sang-woo told a press briefing. He said he will try to find the right timing to resign after addressing the current situation. The Transport Ministry also said it will swiftly improve the safety of airport landing systems that experts said contributed to the catastrophic accidents that killed 179 people on board. Air safety experts have said that the embankment, designed to prop up the localizer antenna used to guide landings in poor visibility, was too rigid and too close to the end of the runway. Ju Jong-wan, the Deputy Transport Minister for Civil Aviation, acknowledged that safety measures were not sufficient when building the embankment, but said they were done in line with regulations in Korea and overseas. The police are investigating how the embankment was constructed, he said. The police last week raided Jeju Air and the operator of Muan International Airport of the investigation into the crash. Feathers were found on one of the engines recovered from the crash scene. The lead investigator Lee Seong-gyol said that, and adding that video footage showed that there was a bird strike on one of the engines. 2 of the Korean investigators on Monday left for the United States to recover and analyze a flight data recorder which was damaged during the crash with the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board. The flight data recorder, along with the cockpit voice recorder, are the 2 black boxes that contain key information about the crash. Lee said it will take 3 days to extract files from the flight data recorder and another 2 days to do preliminary analysis of basic information such as whether 1 or 2 engines failed. United Arab Emirates has agreed to roll over the payment of $2 billion due by Pakistan this month, the South Asian nation's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said on Tuesday. Sharif said he met with the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed while he was on a personal visit to Pakistan on Sunday. In a one-on-one meeting, he said, "There is a $2 billion repayment due, and we are extending this, Sharif told reporters in a televised press conference. I asked for the UAE to invest a few $1 billion in key investment projects, and that would be helpful," Sharif added. He said the UAE was committed to these investments and the two countries share brotherly ties. Securing external financing has previously been a key condition for the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to approve bailout deals for the cash-strapped nation. The next review by the IMF of its $7 billion 37-month loan program to Pakistan is expected in February. Pakistan's $350 billion economy has struggled for decades with boom and bust cycles, needing 23 IMF bailouts since 1958. Two Indian chemical companies have been indicted for allegedly importing ingredients for the highly addictive opioid fentanyl into the United States and Mexico. The U.S. Department of Justice said this on Monday. Athos Chemicals and Raxota Chemicals, both based in Gujarat, were each charged in Brooklyn with distributing the ingredients and conspiring to distribute them. Raxota and senior executive Bhavesh Lathia were also charged with smuggling and introducing misbranded drugs into interstate commerce. Lathia was arrested on Saturday in New York and ordered detained pending trial after prosecutors called him a flight risk and a substantial danger to the community. The Justice Department is targeting every link in fentanyl trafficking supply chains that span countries and continents and too often end in tragedy in the United States. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement. A federal public defender representing Lathia declined to these comments. Athos and Raxota did not immediately also respond to similar requests outside business hours. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid about 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine. Opioids accounted for about 82,000 U.S. deaths in 2022, 10 times the number in 1999, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Prosecutors say that since February 2024, the defendants supplied precursor chemicals they knew would be used to make fentanyl and hid their efforts by mislabeling packages, falsifying customs forms, and making false declarations at border crossings. One indictment that said in October 2024, video calls with an undercover agent posing as fentanyl manufacturer, Lathia agreed to sell 20 kilograms of the precursor chemical. The other indictment said Athos agreed last February to sell 100 kilograms on the same chemical to a known drug trafficker in Mexico who was making fentanyl in connection with a drug trafficking organization. Lathia faces up to 53 years in prison if convicted, the Justice Department said. China's Commerce Ministry said on Tuesday it will impose anti-dumping deposits on cypermethrin findings of dumping cypermethrin, an insecticide used in agriculture and sanitation, controls pests on crops such as cotton, vegetables, corn, and flowers, according to the ministry. Chinese director who made a film about the 2022 white paper demonstrations against China's COVID restrictions was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison by a Shanghai court this week, his former lawyer said. In the protests, people held up blank white sheets of paper as a symbol of defiance against government efforts to censor the largest since the 1989 Tiananmen Square demonstrations and unprecedented since President Xi Jinping came to power in 2012. I beg your pardon. Rescuers in India are racing against time to bring out miners trapped inside a flooded coal mine in the northeastern state of Assam. 3 of the 9 men inside were feared dead after the state government said rescue teams had spotted some bodies they have been unable to reach. The men were trapped on Monday morning after water flooded the so-called rat hole mine, which is a narrow hole dug manually to extract coal. Despite a ban on such mining in India since 2014, small illegal mines continue to be operational in Assam and other northeastern states. The Indian Army, which is involved in the rescue effort, said in a statement that its personnel had arrived at the site in the morning and were assisting the local administration. Senior officials of Indian Army will also be reaching the site to coordinate with the civil administration, the statement said. The Army's relief task force includes divers, sappers, medical staff and necessary equipment, it added. On Monday evening, Assam Director General of Police, GP Singhi, said that the authorities were ascertaining the exact number of people that were trapped. Reports said that more than a dozen miners had managed to escape, and initial reports suggested that the numbers would be in single digits. The mine is located in the hilly area of Dima Hasao district. Senior police official in the district, Mayank Kumar, told reporters that the area was very remote and difficult to reach. Mine-related disasters are not uncommon in India's northeast. In December 2018, at least 15 men were trapped in an illegal mine in the neighboring state of Meghalaya after water from a nearby river flooded it. 5 miners managed to escape, but the rescue efforts for the others continued until the first week of March the following year. Only 2 bodies were recovered. In January 2024, 6 workers were killed after a fire broke out in a rat hole coal mine in Nagaland state. The body of an Indian journalist who had reported on alleged corruption in the country has been found in a septic tank in Chhattisgarh state. Mukesh Chandrakar, who is 32, went missing on the New Year's Day, and his family registered a complaint with the police. His body was found on Friday in the compound of a road construction contractor in the Bijapur town area after officers tracked his mobile phone. 3 people have been arrested in connection with his death, reportedly including 2 of his relatives. A media watchdog has demanded a thorough investigation. Police in the Bijapur district did not find anything during an initial visit to the compound on 2nd January. However, after further inspection on 3rd January, we discovered Mukesh's body in the newly floored septic tank near the badminton court, a senior police officer said, referring to the fact that concrete slabs had been placed on top of the tank. Mr. Chandrakar, a freelance journalist, had reported widely on alleged corruption in public construction projects. He also ran a popular YouTube channel, Basta Junction. It has been reported in India media that one of those under arrest over the journalist's death is his cousin. One of the main suspects, compound owner Suresh Chandrakar, also a relative, is on the run. Local journalists have held a protest demanding strict action against the alleged perpetrators in May 2022. Shabab Kumar Mathur, a freelance journalist known for his reporting on people involved in illegal sand mining, was fatally shot in the head by 4 unidentified men outside his home in Bihar. Media watchdog Reporters Without Borders has said that an average of 3 or 4 journalists are killed in connection with their work in the world's most dangerous. That's the international news for today. I am Francis Necker. Thank you for watching us live on our website, Atlantic Network. Remember, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Coming up next is business news. Please stay with us.